a little bit late on the VP debate. Our two candidates will be Casey Dahmer and Brianna Hitchens. Yes? Good. Sorry. This will be same rules as before. There will just not be any opening statement, and it will be for only 15 minutes. So, without any further ado, we will begin. We had a coin toss outside. Heads was it, which means, Brianna, you will get first question, but you will also get to have the closing statement.
Okay.
So, let's begin. What knowledge and or experience do you have in the Robert's Rules of Order, and how strictly do you think it should be followed during SGA meetings?
I have several experiences. I have sat on several councils. That includes the Women's Panhellenic Association. We follow that every meeting. Also, I'm parliamentarian for my sorority, Gamma Phi Beta, which my job is to enforce Robert's Rule during meeting and make sure that our members follow it to a T, basically. What was the second part of that question?
How strictly do you think it should be followed during SGA meetings?
I think it's very important, especially when you're dealing with big topics and different opinions. It helps to keep the flow of meeting going, as well as keep everyone under control, I guess.
Great. Casey, same question to you.
Yeah, I have a significant amount of knowledge as well as experience working with parliamentary procedure. Throughout high school, I debated as well as engaged in congressional debate, where I finished being ranked in above the top 25 in the nation, and it's exclusively run using parliamentary procedure. In addition to that, throughout my time in SGA, I've considered myself to be somewhat of a brain on this question. I've used a significant amount of parliamentary procedure in the past. I've also assisted with the facilitation of parliamentary procedure at the current SGA meetings, as well as hope to be able to do so in the future. I also generally tend to try and carry around a copy of Robert's Rules of Order with me, just in case there are any procedural clarifications that need to be made. In terms of the importance of Robert's Rules of Order, I think that question is a difficult one. Sometimes Robert's Rules of Order can, as my opponent pointed out, be used to more correctly or accurately facilitate the meeting, but there does become a point at which excessive use of bureaucracy can actually slow that down. But I do largely think that Robert's Rules of Order should be followed at all times.
All right, second question. This will go to Casey first. What should be the role of Senate Review Board in SGA, and how do you think it should handle issues of attendance for senators?
I think that the role of Senate Review Board should be to act as a governing body for the association in terms of disciplinary matters, but I also think that there needs to be some fundamental reforms to Senate Review Board. For example, the persons who are most likely to be brought up on Senate Review charges, for example, officers of the association, currently make up the Senate Review Board, which makes it difficult for any concrete or accurate decisions to be made. So before I would put too much burden on their shoulders, I would definitely want to look at or investigate the idea of potentially changing that procedure. Outside of that, however, I think that the role should be to determine attendance, and attendance should be taken very seriously. I think that part of the reason that SGA doesn't have the face that we want to on campus is because we struggle with follow-through, and I think that the most fundamental starting point is having everyone show up.
Same question, Nancy.
I think I very much agree with my opponent that there needs to be some aspects that we need to look at for Senate Review Board again. The way it's been run this past year has not necessarily been efficient, and it hasn't been helpful either. I think it should be utilized as a great way to hold everyone a part of the association accountable for their actions, as well as I believe it could be used in a positive and a negative way. So it's a matter of just looking at it and reviewing it. I believe that's something that was on my mind when thinking about running for vice president.
Goes to you, Brianna. This year saw, as has happened in other years, multiple senators not fulfilling their 1 hour obligation time every week in SGA offices. How would you, as the vice president, work to ensure that senators fulfill their obligation?
I think that one problem that senators have right now is they come and they try to do it, but they don't know what to do. One of my goals would be to possibly have a board up in the student government office that has a list of tasks by maybe the chairs or directors or even the president and vice president of different tasks that need to be completed in the office. That way, when one senator has time, they can come in, look, say, oh, here's what we need to do. I'll get this done. Have the supplies or whatever needed for that task there for them to complete. It's much easier to get done because sometimes the officers may not have office hours during the time that the senator can come in and do their office hours. So that's one change I'm looking at making. Also, I think that each chair should hold their member accountable for doing their work, as well as the VP manage the chairs to hold them accountable to do their work as well.
Right. Casey, the same question to you.
Could you please repeat the question in full?
Yes. It started off with, I said that there has been an issue with senators not fulfilling their 1 hour obligation every week in SGA. And I was asking how you, as the vice president, would work to ensure that senators fulfill their 1 hour obligation.
Right. I think that I think that I want to start by drawing, I think that this is one of the clearest places I can draw a distinction in between myself and Director Kitchings. The way that SGA operates right now is very much top-down. Like, for example, she talks about the idea of placing up a board and then having senators select off that board the tasks that they would complete when they had time. I think we would like to see things go from the bottom up. Rather, allow the fact that we built a strong party ticket, including persons who are already leaders in a variety of organizations, in a variety of different departments across campus, and take advantage of the skills and resources that they already have at their disposal and encourage them to use their 1 hour of office time a week to either positively affect the organization they already work with, to establish a new connection with a different organization, or to be able to try and generally work on something that they want to do. The easiest way to get somebody to do something isn't to tell them, it's to kill them with kindness. Let them do things that they want to do. Let them help the students in the way that they think they best can. Everybody joins SGA because they think they have something to offer. Let's let them offer it instead of telling them what they have to do. So although I agree that there are some things that need to be dictated from the top down, in general I think the way that we would get SGA senators to fulfill their 1 office hour is to open up what office hours mean and to encourage them to be able to do things that they want to.
This question will go to Casey first. Typically the vice president has a side project they work on each year. What would be yours, and why do you believe this is the most important place to focus?
There are 3 things that I have kind of identified as being the side projects that I most urgently want to work on at this point in time. The first is, and I think the most challenging, is wage equality. One of the things that I've been hearing from students is that they really struggle with the fact that depending on which group on campus they work for or what subject they tutor, they're paid at a different rate, especially for students who have hour caps. This is extremely problematic because it forces divisions and departments on campus to fight for the best students, which creates unnecessary tension at the collegiate level as well. So that's one project. The second project that I want to work on, and it has been recently brought to my attention, is that although there is a place of Muslim worship on campus, it does not meet many of the needs of those students. For example, the facilities for the washing of feet and legs do not really feed the needs of the students. They often at times have to use sinks to try and accomplish this task, which can be either embarrassing or just in general unnecessary. It seems to me very simple to try and resolve this issue. It also seems like a fundamental question of equality. And then the third thing that I wanted to work on was hunger on campus. I've already engaged with the Hunger Awareness Initiative to try and work on some things there, and would hope to be able to work with Sodexo and them in the future on reducing hunger amongst students now.
Same question, Nancy.
I had a couple projects in mind as well. One of the things is all these changes coming to campus and seeing Bardo's vision, I hear a lot of concern that we don't have a 24-hour study space, and how appreciative that students would be to be able to come to campus any time of day or night, and to be able to study. And so possibly looking at a place that we can provide that for them, and the security that they would need for it. And this may sound a little funny or silly, but even just providing like a coffee shop in there for them as well. Other campuses have it, students utilize it a lot, and I think it's important to look into that. Another thing would be is student hunger is what I was looking at as well, just like my opponent. I believe we both think it's very important to address and to look at. I would like to see more initiatives taken on campus, if that's for myself or getting other groups to help do that as well. So those were my two big issues.
Rebuttal.
Yes, we'll give you 1 minute for rebuttal.
I would be interested, I know that my opponent just forwarded the idea of a 24-hour study space. Campus already has a 24-hour library zone. I guess I'd be interested in perhaps hearing how that could be improved, or what changes would like to be made to that, since that fundamental need has already been fulfilled.
I think it's a lack of security that the students feel that this already existing 24-hour space has. Also, it's really not that big. I know there's many times I've been there and other students have been there, and it's completely full, and there's not computers to use. There's nowhere where you can buy drinks or food or refreshments. There's not a bathroom to use without leaving campus. So it's about providing those small amenities to it as well. Since that, I've gotten several emails and phone calls about wanting to be involved, and I followed up with that. Another thing is having that open door policy. Please do. I encourage everyone to vote in the election if you are able to. Also, on behalf of my party, I am deeply sorry and regret the actions that happened.
You both? Okay.